that's very alarming to me, and it kind of makes my, flags go off a little bit, so to speak. So I'm just curious who came up with that idea and why.
Mr. Chairman, if I could answer that. So in our group, when we looked at all the opportunities, it becomes at 1,000 feet very restrictive. So you almost don't have any eligible properties that fit the criteria. So when we looked at that and we looked at other communities and what they've done, it seemed that more people were going to the 500 feet from those boundaries, and it also was consistent with the state law, and it provided for multiple opportunities throughout the city of Taylor in the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts. Even
To the point that we were removing the sign portion to where somebody can put a marijuana sign up right across from a school. And you're saying that there's too much stuff on there, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I kind of disagree with you, Mr. Greco. I think it is a good thing, and I like the fact that we can't put a billboard on a billboard across the street from a school or a park. Hey, get your marijuana here. I think at the end of the day, I voted no on the first one, the medicinal. Okay, but I could live with the numbers that was there. So after it was voted on, I'm like, okay, I can live with that, even though I lost. To see the amount of numbers that's now here in front of me, I'm amazed by it, and I'm shocked, to be honest with you, and I want to know how we came up with all these changes, and they're drastic changes. They're not little changes. We wiped out a lot of the stuff that was in there that kind of held their feet to the fire a little bit. I don't care, if people want to smoke dope, that's fine. I have friends that smoke it. I used to smoke it back in the day. I'm going to admit that to everybody in this room and everybody that's watching. I don't care. But at the end of the day, people say, because I called all my dope smoking friends, okay, and I even have friends that grow it. When you voted on this in November to make it legal, what did you think you were voting on? Every single one of them said, I was voting to give myself the right to smoke marijuana without going to jail. Not about opening facilities all over. So I literally asked every one of them, okay, what if somebody opened a facility at the corner of your street? Would you be in favor of that? 99% of them said no. The only one that said yes was the grower. So these are my biggest concerns, and I'm willing, I think we need to have a lot more discussions on this, but some of these changes are so drastic that it's unbelievable to me. And if I'm speaking out of line, somebody let me know.
Mr. Chairman, if I could address the number.
Sure.
The group, the internal working group, just put placeholder numbers in. So we had the discussion that ultimately it would be City Council's decision of what to consider approving. We just put placeholders in for the purpose of discussion. If City Council doesn't like 2 and they like 1, that's ultimately your decision. But these are just placeholders on the numbers. But to answer your question about going from 1,000 to 500, it was really ultimately decided based on opportunity, because there was almost nothing that qualified at the 1,000 square foot mark.
Okay. The other question I have is, so with the ordinance that we passed for medicinal, from what you said earlier, we couldn't have just add including recreational. That wouldn't have been sufficient, as opposed to waiting another year and going through all this and rewriting and all this stuff. Could we have done, once what we passed, could we have just added to include recreational? So if somebody that had a medicinal license applied, and we were giving 2 dispensaries at that time, so if we put in recreational, could those people, okay, we're open to medicinal, and then we could, if they qualify to receive a recreational, we could have just gave those 2 places recreational if we voted on it. And it would have saved us a lot of time and money. Am I right?
No, because the recreational is a different statute. That's what I'm telling you. All the definitions are wrong. Everything. When I say like all of the things are different. You know what I mean? And
yeah, that's what I just wanted to clarify. You did say that, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, there's some of them are more subtle than others. But if you look at the statute, even the one where in the medical says you don't have to do anything, and this one says, oh, you have to opt out. So that's like almost like a trapdoor trick, right, for communities that, Councilman Bzura pulled out, like that we need to do this. As far as the definitions, the different types of facilities, whether or not, now, for example, under the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act, you can't be a grower in a commercial, you can't be a grower in a business or commercial district, you have to be in an industrial or agricultural district. Then the Recreational Act doesn't provide that. And then it slips in, it says that a municipality, because once you allow it, you gotta be careful, that a municipality can't stop someone from stacking another type of facility in a zoning district if it already allows a marijuana facility. So for example, if you have, and the reason is because it's this marijuana micro business, right? Because that's the one, it's almost like a brewery. You're like a self-contained growing. So the original act had growers over here, then it goes through processors, and you have dispensaries over here. Once you have a marijuana micro business, which is a new type of thing, all of a sudden you're growing in areas where you would normally have retail, right? And so it's a different act, and that's why, and I can't emphasize more that it really is like, I'm like, why are they rewriting the book and why are they changing it? And I'm pretty positive, just the way, you know, from studying this for years, the way they've done it, I want to say they, the industry, or how this gets, you know, knocked down, right? You have the decriminalization, you have the medical, and all of a sudden it's commercial before you know it. I'm certain that the differences between each of the acts is intentional to make it something like this, that you have to deal with it and you have to expand it and you have to change it, and all of a sudden, you know, it's almost like desensitizing you, and then you're already there. As far as, like I said, any of the numbers, the 500, the 1,000, I mean, I have a client that has opted out completely of medical marijuana. You know, it's a policy decision for you guys to make. It's, you know, so, yeah.
Just before we go to Councilman Bzura, I see the deputy police chief back there, so my comments were hypothetically, chief. Councilman Bzura.
It's a good thing we don't have a dog in the room.
Long time ago.
I wanted to ask a specific question to make sure I understood stacking, because that was one of the changes I noticed about growers. But I will say, getting back to the distance, when a majority of council approved the medical, right, wrong, or indifferent, after a lot of studying, after a public hearing, and after getting all that input, it was deemed to be acceptable as long as you were 1,000 feet from a park, a church, or a school. And it's alarming to me that now we're basically willing to accept that the only way we can have this industry in our city is if we accept them closer to our parks and schools and churches. That's very alarming to me. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, and if the goal now is to go from where we were to saying, if you want all these businesses, we can argue whether it's 2 or 6 or 12, but as long as you understand we got to put them closer to your house, your church, your park, or your kid's school, that's interesting information to me. As far as stacking, Dave, what does that mean? Is it the same entity with more than one license, or is it 5 different entities? I'm trying to envision how big you can go. Under medical, it was, but is that 10,000 for one guy, or could be 10 guys at 1,000?
No, 10,000 for one guy would be, so stacking is that if you are an industrial size grower, and so this would be kind of for a bigger facility, that you can get for recreational, so that would be the highest amount is 2,000 per Class C license, so you can stack licenses at a particular location.
So the way that it's currently presented, I know it's not final.
Yeah.
We've got 2 grower licenses, and I was more familiar with the A, B, and C for medical, but it sounds like the largest grower is 2. If we give 2 grower licenses, that would be up to 20,000 plants, is that correct?
Potentially, sure.
Okay.
If it's a large enough facility.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be a big enough facility. You know.
Okay, I didn't know if it was multiple people jumping in, or if it was one guy with the ability to grow.
Right, so that would be the limit right now, and one of the questions before that I responded to this afternoon, talking about the excess grower license, that would be, because, look, as far as the commercial stuff, the recreational is gonna swallow up medical, right, for the need. You still gotta apply for the 2 licenses, both at the state and at the local level, because there's 2 different statutes, and you're serving, I mean, the recreational is gonna overlap it and overtake it completely. So that's why with that excess grower, which I didn't put in to this, it wasn't anything that anybody discussed or requested of me. So that would increase the maximum from 10,000 plants to more than that, you know, if you could incorporate some of that into medical. So right here, so that's what the stacking is, that's coming straight from the state statute.
Thank you.
You know.
Councilman Johnson?
So as of right now, all the facilities that are in here, they all have to be in industrial areas,
I-1, I-2,
whether it's a micro business or a growing facility.
correct.
So